Hey, I'm Colin Wright, and this is Consider This Questions and Answers. So the first question came in from Facebook, and it says, so you're always posting articles about how the world is changing very quickly and about cold, rational science, and yet you seem so happy. So not really a question, but I think I get the implicit question there. How is it that I can be so happy while still being so enthusiastic about things that are so-called cold and rational and scientific discoveries and the way that the world is changing, things of that nature? And for me, these are the things that provide a lot of my happiness, a lot of my optimism, really. Because despite the fact that a lot of the news and a lot of politicians and a lot of forces that be would have us scared and would have us worrying all the time and would have us feeling that everything is going to shit pretty much constantly, that couldn't be further from the truth. For most people on this planet, there's never been a better time to be alive. It's just that the things that are going really, really horribly, and there are a lot of those are the things that get the airtime. If it bleeds, it leads, is the phrase that they often use in journalism for that. The things that are the most horrific and the most horrible and the most scandalific and the most anger and outrage inducing, these are the things that we see most often because it gets the most clicks, it gets the most advertising, measurable views. And as a result, our emphasis on these things, our excitement about it, getting riled up about it and sharing it is actually what encourages these publishers and these politicians to post more things about that type of stuff and to say more things about that type of stuff. But the reality is that what's going on around the world in pretty much every industry, every field of study, by every measurement, things are getting really, really good. And although we don't see a lot of that, a lot of what is improving around the world has a lot to do with the science and the technology and the civil developments and the egalitarianism that's spreading across the globe. And so that type of stuff really gets me going, because every time we invent a new cure for some disease, or we discover something new about the human body, or discover something new about the solar system or about the universe that we live in, all of these things tend to lead to repercussions that tend to be largely positive. There will always be some negative consequences to everything that we do, but typically it is an outsized positive result from all of these things that occur. So to me, this stuff is just exciting. It's exciting to see what happens next. But on top of that, it's also just beautiful. There's something incredibly gorgeous about the idea of understanding deeper and deeper levels, understanding the universe, understanding reality on the micro, and then also understanding it on the macro, understanding the universe on scale, but then also understanding the microscopic universe and the nano universe and going deeper and deeper and deeper. These things, if you see images of them, they're aesthetically beautiful, but I also think it's just beautiful and poetic to understand the world around us. I don't think it subtracts from my experience of the natural world, of the human world, at all. It doesn't take away from my ability to appreciate art, to also be able to appreciate science. And so that's really my answer anytime somebody asks me about that, because it is implied that if you're cold and rational and you are enthusiastic about these types of discoveries, you don't care about, walking through a meadow and appreciating the silence and the nature and such. But that's totally not true. I think you can appreciate both. And ideally you do, because one informs the other and actually adds an additional layer of enjoyment for each of these two experiences. So the next question came from YouTube. How can I learn faster? There are a lot of different things to learn and a lot of different ways to learn these different things. There's a lot of different people, and each of us have different ways that we learn a little bit better. There's a lot of different ways to improve our ability to learn or to improve our curiosity, which then increases the likelihood that we will discover ways to learn and discover things that we want to learn about. So there's a lot of different ways to tackle this, but I'll tell you the way that I tend to look at learning. When I want to learn something new, I tend to think of a cone shape, something conical, like a teepee, or like setting logs to make a fire for a campfire. Because each of these things, the more of them you have and the more you lean against all of the other ones, the more stable your structure. And I tend to think of individual pieces of knowledge as little logs or little beams that you're going to use for your teepee. And the more of them I have, the more capable I am of learning more things, and the more stable my structure, the more stable I am on some levels. So if I want to learn something like, say, using YouTube and producing video for YouTube or something, I might learn a little bit of video production, a little bit about the hardware, a little bit about the software, a bit about social media, a bit about copywriting to try to draw people in and write headlines for these things, a little bit about personal branding, a little bit about whatever subject it is that I want to talk about. And the more you combine these things together, the firmer your foundation, the stronger a structure, the more stable a structure you have built, and the higher up you can go. But if you decide just to do one thing, if you decide, I'm just going to make a video, I'm going to learn how to make a video, you'll get part of the way, and you can like stick that log on the ground, but it's very easily knocked over. It's something that's not a very stable structure. And so when you're trying to learn, try to think of it in those terms, that you don't want to learn just the one thing that your mind immediately goes to. You want to learn all of these adjacent skills as well. And if you invest a little bit in a bunch of different things, not only will you be more likely to learn that core thing that you're trying to learn, be it, you know, how to publish YouTube videos or nuclear engineering or whatever, but you're also opening up doors to possibly learning about some other thing that ends up being your real passion, something that you're even more passionate about. And you start making YouTube videos only to discover that you're really, really into social media marketing or really, really into copywriting. And then you can refocus your attention there and then learn all the adjacent skills to that particular beam. And it's a really, really nice process because it opens up the doors to a lot of other things you wouldn't have otherwise thought to explore. But it also helps you learn in a really stable and thorough fashion the thing that you're trying to learn specifically. I usually only do two, but I'm going to answer this one as well because it's a really quick one. What laptop, bag, clothing, shoes, etc. do you recommend? I get asked this all the time, constantly. And I mean, I'm glad. I really do work hard to try to carry the right bag and have the right clothes and stuff for my specifications, for my lifestyle. But I get asked frequently enough, and this changes frequently enough, that I decided just to make a page for it. So if you go to colin.io/recommendations, you can see all of these things. You can see the bag and the clothing and the electronics, the computer, the phone, the services, all of these things that I use. I try to keep it pretty up to date, but that's the best way to check those out. Otherwise, I could tell you something now, and it would probably be different by next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a question you'd like me to answer in the future, feel free to leave it in the comments below, or you can reach out on the Consider This Facebook page. If you like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. You can click the thumbs up like button. That definitely helps and helps spread the videos to more people. You can find me elsewhere on the internet, pretty much everywhere at Colin is my name, and you can find out more about me and my work, including all of the books that I've written, at colin.io.